Welcome to Reaching World Podcast, where we highlight the world's largest network of influencers for good, love, and service. Join us in saying thank you to these incredible individuals and organizations by listening, subscribing, and sharing their legacies. And by doing this together, we will help inspire others to leave their legacy of service and love. I'm your host, Zach Garner. Thank you for tuning in to Reaching World Podcast. This is episode 6, and we have the pleasure to be speaking with Rodney Smith, the director of the Center for Constitutional Studies at Utah Valley University. We would like to highlight him today because we believe he is an influencer for good, love, and service in the educational system, in his community, and especially in his home. Before we jump into his interview, we'd like to highlight our sponsor, Allstate Insurance, providing coverage and protection for your home, auto, and life. If you'd like to get a free quote today, be sure to call Bruce at 208-376-0548. Again, that's 208-376-0548. Now let's go ahead and jump right into the interview. Thank you.
My name is Rodney Smith. I currently direct the Center for Constitutional Studies at Utah Valley University. Prior to that, I served as a law school dean and as president of Southern Virginia University.
Fantastic. Thanks, Rod. Tell us what you're currently doing now in your organization, its mission and purpose, and what you're doing to influence and inspire good, to train the next wave of leaders.
I currently direct the Center for Constitutional Studies, and our mission is an ambitious one. It is to increase constitutional literacy in our country. The vast majority of college graduates today could not pass the constitutional literacy portion of the immigration exam. Without literacy in the area of constitutional law and liberty, our nation is going to be in a very precarious position.
Absolutely, I agree. Rod, why don't you tell our listeners a highlight in your career, 2 or 3 experiences that were a direct relation to maybe your influence and in your inspiration to influence good?
Most examples, first of all, in my life, I've discovered are not examples that occur in large groups. I've been blessed to be able to speak before many large groups and to perhaps influence some lives in that way. But almost all of my experiences, whether they were professional, ecclesiastical, or in the walls of my home, have all been really pretty much one-on-one opportunities. Now, a couple of group opportunities that have really influenced, have been wonderful experiences in my life. One happened at Southern Virginia University. We had a wonderful women's soccer team, very successful, and they had just played in the semifinal game for the national championship, and they had defeated Florida College 1-0. The next day, they were planning to play the championship. For our players, that was a Sunday. That was their Sabbath, and they did not play on their Sabbath. That was not their custom or their practice. So they shook the hands of the Florida College players and wished them well in the next match. And the Florida College people wanted to know why. And they said, well, you're playing for the national championship. We're not. And they said, no, you are. You beat us. And they then said, no, you are, because this would violate our conscience. And when you see a group of people from 18 to 24 years of age saying that they're willing to sacrifice something that they've really played a lifetime for in the interests of conscience, it's enormously moving. I made sure that I was among the small group that was there to greet them when they arrived home. And I had many occasions to applaud many wonderful things in the course of my life, but I've never felt better than the day I applauded those courageous young women. Another opportunity that was in a larger context, I was teaching a law school class, and I was struggling to get them to learn to analyze issues. And we worked and worked and worked at it. And they thought to analyze an issue, what you had to do was make an argument that was stronger than the other side. And I was trying to get them to appreciate that the best arguments are built by fully understanding the other side. And so they worked at it and worked at it. And at the end of the semester, they had become so accomplished at being able to construct very strong arguments that even though I was in the midst of chemotherapy, I jumped up on the desk to applaud them. They were just wonderful. And many of them were in tears because they had worked so hard to develop this talent, and they realized that I believe they had. I think the lessons I've learned in life are that good things come through hard work. Alexander Hamilton liked to say people claim I'm a genius, but they don't know how hard I work.
Thank you for sharing that. Now, Rod, if there's one piece of advice you would like to leave with our listeners, what would that one thing be?
I think the major piece of counsel I would leave really comes from one of the great justices on the United States Supreme Court. Justice Louis Brandeis said, "It came as a revelation to me that thinking is brooding over a mass of material for a prolonged period of time." What I would leave is that as one who has studied the founding and has, particularly as I write this book about conscience and the Constitution, the life and times of James Madison, I have been deeply moved to see that in virtually every instance, and there were so very, very many, when there was what they referred to as providential support for their grand enterprise in creating this nation, our Constitution and Bill of Rights, invariably that inspiration came. Invariably they knew the heavens had opened. Invariably it came after much agonizing work. And then the heavens opened, and they felt in profound ways the blessing, that kind of inspiration. And I just can attest, whether one is a believer or not, if you will work hard and seek to be inspired, if you will reflect and brood and think, that you will discover that wonderful thing indeed can happen in your life. Then I would close with what my wife taught me, and that is, under all circumstances, be kind.
Thank you so much. That is just perfect. Again, we look to you as a leader, as an influencer for good, love, and service. Rod, go ahead and tell our listeners the impact that you're making in the walls of your own home, how many children you have, and why you guys chose to have such a large family.
We have 8 children and 43 grandchildren, with one on the way. I should tell you a story because you'll enjoy it. I was meeting with a United States Senator from Arkansas when I was the dean of the law school. And we were going to meet for 30 minutes. It went on for about an hour and a half. And after we got close and he felt comfortable with me, he said, "The one thing I don't understand is how could you have so many children in a world that's overpopulated?" I said, "Well, I really appreciate that you feel close enough to me to ask that question, and I feel close enough to give you the answer. And that is, and I want you to hear this, every one of my children will give more back to this world than they take."
What an incredible response. Rod, thanks again for your time. It's been a pleasure. We look forward to seeing the influence that you're generating in the educational system continue to blossom. Now be sure to join us on episode 7 of Reaching World Podcast next week, where we highlight Ollie G, a teacher, a coach, a mentor, an author, and guest lecturer at TED events. The impact that Ollie G is having in the educational system and the marketplace is awesome. You don't want to miss it. These episodes will be launched on Mondays and Thursdays. And if you'd like someone to be on the podcast, if you think there's someone in your network that should be recognized for the good they are doing in the world, please reach out to us and send us a direct message. We can be found at Reaching World Podcast on Facebook.com. So be sure to find us there, like our page, and submit any ideas or suggestions of individuals or organizations that should be highlighted on this podcast. Now, to finish today's episode, a couple additional ads from our sponsors.
Are you a business owner that would like to maximize your staff or sales team's production and overall performance? Go to buildyourtraining.com and see how business owners are empowering their teams by digitizing a cloud-based training platform. Again, go to buildyourtraining.com to help unleash your team's overall potential and performance.